Yes, Bradenton, Florida, the town filled to the brim with the aroma of burning orange peels. Welcome back to the Sunshine State Rails. It's the morning of August 8th, 2020, and we have come out to our frequented Bradenton location to catch a very special juice train. The train was ahead of its normal schedule this morning, and by the time we got there at just past 9:45 a.m., the locomotives had already backed onto the juice consist and were pulling it north of the switch at US 301 and 41 to back onto the mixed freight section, which, due to precision scheduled railroading, has now become a part of what used to be the mighty Tropicana juice train. Leading the novelty of orange this morning was a CSX SD70 MAC rebuild, number 4564. But what I really cared about in the consist this morning was this thing, SD40-2, number 8051. While the SD70 in the lead was a big thing for me because I've been trying to see an SD70 leading the juice train for a good long while now, 8051, though not known by many people, is my favorite CSX locomotive in existence. The last time I saw this locomotive was when it was heading north on Q452 on July 27, 2017. And whatever it was about this locomotive at that time just led me to getting completely attracted to it, and I'd been hoping to see it ever since then. But after coming south on Q441 the night before, they threw it on to 0823 this morning, so we were definitely out here for this one. So were two other friends of mine, Danny and Aspen. We'll see them later today. Besides that, there were still some cool aspects about today's train. One of them being something I noticed later, is that this train today is all Tropicana-owned reefers. Over the last few years, we've been seeing a lot of CRYX cryo-trans leased reefers on the juice train and places where Tropicana is hauled. And according to some of the guys down here, they've been using a lot of those because for whatever reason they're at a shortage of Tropicana reefers. But today, northbound 0823 didn't have a single one of those on it. And that, paired with the fact that there were two EMDs pulling this train, almost made it look like an old-fashioned juice train. They would now proceed to pull the mixed freight out of the siding and shove back down onto the main track while they waited for the Alafia River bridge tender to lower the drawbridge on the Big Manatee, and they called them now because it's an old drawbridge and it takes a good 5 minutes or more to come down all the way. This stuff happens here every day, and they block the crossing the whole time. And again, this is where the two major highways, US 41 and US 301, come together in an overpass and straightaway, right before the railroad tracks. So the combining two roads must sit here for as long as the train blocks the crossing. And I'm sure words can't describe the frustration these people feel right now, especially if they drive this daily. By now, the only thing 0823 was waiting for was clearance from the Alafia River bridge tender, letting them know that the Big Manatee was lined and locked. So, before they take off, a little flashback to the very last time that I saw 8051 before today, northbound Q452 out of Winston Yard, trailing third out of 4. Back to the present, the gates are coming on down because the Alafia River bridge tender has confirmed that the Big Manatee is lined and locked. so it is now 0823's time to speed on northbound. Our next spot would be 25th Street, just north of Palmetto. There's a drainage canal that runs right next to here, and even though sometimes filled with trash, the sound was utterly relaxing. And the sound of running water is off-putting to some people, but personally I love it. Not much time had passed between when we got here and when 0823 rounded the corner, revving up to head north. Another interesting thing to note about 8051 though, word is that the faded looking nose on 8051 is actually leftover Yellow Nose 2 paint. Why they couldn't finish painting the rest of the nose, I don't know. But I guess the same kind of reasoning would explain locomotives with paint jobs like this, or this. The train's abnormally high speed, paired with today's abnormally high amount of traffic and red lights, made this train a pretty hard train to get today. We caught up to him again at County Line Road, just north of Port Manatee, jumping out of the car on a dime, where my friend Danny has already set up. Ah yes, another shot on a dime. The train was now speeding around the corner to turn back north after crossing the Little Manatee River, and our last location would be Pennsylvania Avenue, just south of the actual Alafia River, in Gibsonton. By now, Aspen had met up with us, so all three of us were here to get our last shot here, and we would appreciate Aspen's presence for this last spot, as this would probably be one of my last times seeing him for a while. He will be moving to Tennessee here soon. Next week, in fact.
It requires the employees. See ya, Aspie.
Bye, Aspen.
Yeah, his mom's not a fan of me.
Aspen and Danny had left by this point, but we stuck around because 0750 was requesting permission southbound across the Alafia River once 823 got by. So we would follow him south for just a little bit since we would have to head back south anyways. And here's the unpredictability factor with 750. There are some days where he has a huge line of rock bound for Palmetto, And then there's these days, when he has one car and one Jeep. We would continue southward until we came across our infamous spot, the Little Manatee River Swing Bridge. Over the last several weeks, CSX has been upgrading this bridge to work remotely with the Alafia River Bridge tender up in Gibsonton where we just were. So once the bridge is fully converted, there will no longer be manual bridge tending here. And in the process of them converting this bridge, the ACL lettering which was on the bridge was painted over. New rails and wiring installed all the way across the bridge, and a new antenna looking structure off to the side, likely for the remote capability. I was surprised when a bridge tender rolled up to close the bridge. I had thought that they had already converted it. So I asked him, and he informed me that the manual bridge tending here would only be necessary for 8 more weeks, and then the bridge would be fully RC. But I had the drone up for another reason too. Heading north of the crossing, the siding just north of the river has been completely pulled out. I had been here a few weeks ago and saw that the switches on both ends were taken out, but I wasn't aware until I flew the drone over that they had completely ripped up all of the rails in that siding. This old track removal, just like the selling off of the Tallahassee line and the bulldozing of Tilford Yard, is part of E. Hunter Harrison's new vision for the railroad, and the new vision to pull up and sell off as many lines as possible. Why? Well, for the driving force behind this entire planet, money. Up until the time that I had come here to see the track gone, I had never thought that the next time I had come here, it would be gone. The siding was mostly used for storage, maintenance equipment especially, but to see such an old piece of railroad gone in an instant was really crazy to see. It really is sad these days to see the rail lines that supported the railroad for so many years just gone for a little more money. But while the drone was down there, 0750 rounded the corner continuing southbound, waiting for the bridge to be lined and locked for one of the very last times manually. And that would be all for our quick special day out on the Palmetto Subdivision. 0823 with a sweet lash up and an 0750 with a short train but a sweet bridge tender. Thanks for joining me on this short little adventure, and I'll see you next time soon on the Sunshine State Rails.